Today, we're talking about one of the most important relationships in reading, writing, and real life: cause and effect. Understanding cause and effect helps you see how events are interconnected and how one thing leads to another. By understanding what happened in the past, you can see the full scope of the impact of a person's actions or the results of a policy or an event. What is cause and effect? In fiction, authors often include a cause and effect relationship in their stories to build plot, create tension, and justify character actions. In nonfiction, it is used to support arguments with evidence and illustrate relationships between events and other phenomena. The cause is the reason, catalyst, motive, or an action that brings about a reaction. The effect is a condition, occurrence, result, or outcome that was generated by one or more causes. To put it more simply, cause answers the question, why? Effect answers the question, what happened? For example, it snowed heavily last night. What could have happened as a result? I'm sure you can imagine several things, but for this example, a typical result might be that school was canceled and you got the day off. The heavy snow was the cause, and school being canceled was the effect. Let's look at a few more examples. He forgot to set his alarm, so he was late for school. She studied hard for her test all week, so she passed the test. The plant died because no one could water it while they were on vacation. If you look at the third example, we can see that the effect can also come before the cause in a sentence. Now, while we always want to look for cause and effect in stories to better understand events, also take note of how it happens in everyday life to better understand this relationship. For example, if we look at major historical events like wars, disasters, and the rise of political figures, we will see that they all had certain causes and factors that led to them. If we look at science, scientists perform experiments, which are actions that see what will happen as a result. If we look at nature, we can see things like clouds forming as a result of water vapor cooling and condensing into visible water droplets. And of course, we can look at our everyday lives for examples as well. If it's your friend's birthday, you might have gone to the store to buy them a gift. Or you studied hard and you got an A+ on your test. One or more actions lead to a result and can cause small or big effects. One way to help you recognize cause and effect relationships are signal words. Common signal words for causes would include because, since, due to, on account of, the reason for, caused by, created by. Common signal words for effects would include as a result, consequently, hence, since, so, therefore, finally, for this reason, and then. Let's look at some examples using some of these signal words. As a result of the cold weather, school will start 2 hours late today. He worked out 4 times a week, so he became stronger. Because she fell ill, she missed school for an entire week. Since the weather was sunny, we spent all day at the beach. Finally, there are several types of cause and effect relationships you can identify. Once you feel like you understand the basic concept, try looking for these 3 common cause and effect relationships. First, one cause with many effects. Here we have a hurricane. This can cause flooding, power outages, tornadoes, and property damage. Next, we have one effect with multiple causes. Here we have a football team who lost their game. The team could have lost the football game because of injuries, poor communication, bad coaching, or because the other team was just better. And finally, we have causal chain, also known as the domino effect. This could be waking up late, then rushing, and then forgetting your phone. Learning to recognize cause and effect relationships is an essential skill that will enhance your understanding and comprehension across many areas and subjects. Remember, when we look for the cause, we're asking why. When we look for the effect, we're asking what happened. Until next time.